So, welcome everyone to this week's installment of Ask the Expert. Today we're going to talk with Monique Pouget of Team 6331 and John Hobbins, the Regional Director for FIRST Robotics in Ontario, about what's next for rookies. As always in the webinar, people are going to be muted. If you do have a question that you would like to ask, please type it into the questions panel, and one of my jobs is to get those questions to our panelists when the time is appropriate, and hopefully that'll be at the end after they've gone through and perhaps answered some of your questions. So with that said, we're going to get started. So again, as I said, this is the Ask the Expert webinar for November 14th, 2017, and we have Monique and John with us. So a little bit about Monique before she talks about herself a little bit. One of the reasons why Monique is on is because she was a rookie coach last year, and a rookie coach that did, as you can see from the accomplishments of the team, that did really, really well. Rookie AllStar all over the place at the Waterloo District event, then at the District Championship at the Hershey Center, and then for the Darwin Division at the World Championships in St. Louis, and was also the highest rookie seed in that event. So with that, we're going to welcome Monique, and these are some of the things that I think we'd like her to talk about. So Monique, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, so the Rookie All-Star Award, that was actually...
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Oops. So let me do that a little bit again. So we had a technical glitch at the beginning. The technical glitch was me. So I'll welcome you again to the Rookie Ask the Experts webinar hosted by FIRST Canada. We have two guests today who are experts. We have first Monique Pouget of Team 6331 out of the Windsor area, and we have John Hobbins, Regional Director for FIRST Canada. Now this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the FIRST Canada YouTube channel, and we will post that link for those that don't have it on the Facebook page, FIRST Canada's Facebook page. So as I said, we have two guests. Monique is a second-year coach now, was a rookie coach last year. Her team 6331 did exceptionally well last year. She had a very successful season, went to the World Championships, where she continued her run of rookie all-star victories, as you can see, going back from the event at Waterloo to the District Championship and also to the World Championships that were held in St. Louis. And we also have John Hobbins with us, and we're going to let Monique go first for reasons that don't need to be said, but we know. Anyways, okay, so Monique, well, once again, welcome.
Thank you for having me. So what the Rookie All-Stars are all about. Honestly, they talk about the Rookie All-Star Award being a team that has a strong partnership, a strong base. And I think for every team, it's a little bit different. And I think that all boils down to what your whole SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, what your team is going to focus on. And so for my team, they kind of had to really set up their foundation, because my background as a mentor is I'm a teacher, but I'm a hairstyling teacher. So my strengths were not typical to a robotics team. But what I did have was a really strong team that was really motivated, amazing students, and I had a good business and marketing background. So we thought we would focus on establishing our team as best we could, and doing what we could do, focusing on the positive about our team, doing what we could do properly, and then setting up the rest and worrying about whether we were going to get our robot to run later. So that's what I think it's about. John, do you have anything to add to that? Hello?
Sure, I was just unmuting myself. So thank you for that, Monique. Yeah, well, just the idea that it's important for everyone to know that there are at least 5 spots at the district championships in Ontario for rookie all-stars to be able to go to the world championships in Detroit this year. And that's an example of how Monique's team was able to go to the world championships by being very successful in Ontario and then making her way on to St. Louis last year.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. The Rookie All-Star Award is basically a chance to go to the championships in Mississauga. Now, last year, you also had to qualify your robot. Is that going to be true this year? Do you know? Or like it's a separate qualification again this year, do you think? Or is that going to?
So the short answer, since John's not chiming in, is yes. So
yes,
what Monique is saying
so that's
is
something the teams might want to be aware of, is that just because you qualify for the Mississauga Championship, you may not be qualified. Your robot may not be qualified. So you'll still be doing the interview if you attend, but you may not be competing your robot. So that was something we weren't aware of, and obviously 5 teams is a lot of teams to be going for the award. So on the upside, if you are a team that may not have the strongest robot, or in our case may have a robot that didn't quite move for the first little bit of your first competition, you might still make it. And we were lucky enough that one of our mentor team actually selected us for their alliance, and we made it into the championships with our robot able to compete, which was even a better feeling. So I think that's what I would say about the award that way. How I was feeling at this time last year, a lot more nervous than I am feeling this year. So that's good news for anybody who's anxious or feel like they're really, really working hard. The good news is it gets better, it gets easier. Not before next April or May, but definitely at some point, once everything, all your packages are in place and all your applications have been filed and all your sponsorships have been done, and you've got that in place, it does get easier. My team, why was it so successful? Again, I think it's because, first of all, the students. I still have amazing students. A lot of them have come back this year, and I've got a new batch that I can't wait to see how they turn out. They worked hard. They did everything I asked them to do and then some, but they also they found their own purpose and their own passions. And I think with any team, you have to have your own passions. So some of the things that they did were things that they found important. So some of the outreach that they did, or just some of the team building activities they did, they were passionate about, whether it was raising money for shelters or different activities like that. They planned a pep rally because they wanted to show off their robot, and they wanted the other school teams to have a chance to show off their successes as well. And it's not something that our team normally does. Our school doesn't do a lot of pep rallies. So it was a really, whatever they did, they threw themselves into it, and they just spread the word that this was something to do. They mentored a junior team last year. This year we are doing it again. So that was also something that they found that they could do. So all different things like that. But mostly it was because whatever they did, they put their whole heart into it. And also, I think with the Rookie All-Star Award specifically, they not only put together the business plan, because there was a lot of other rookie teams that I saw that did easily just as much, could have easily taken the award from us but they maybe didn't document it so well. So my team had a really good website that they did. Their website is in French and in English because we're a French school. So they did all that. They also documented week by week and month by month with pictures, just quick things. We've got links to that on our website if anybody's interested in seeing that. But they did it all. They put it all in a binder, so they had it ready. They practiced talking to the judges. They questioned the judges whenever they could. They asked questions of the judges. They went around and asked what they could do to be better. So they weren't afraid to talk. And I think, and they understood what they did, so they were able to verbalize exactly what they did when it came to their season. So I don't know if anybody wants, Paul, if you want to add anything to that, or if I've left anything out.
No, that's good. I think the points you made are really well taken. Too often rookies are timid to talk to other teams. Teams are super friendly. People don't often really understand that until they get involved. And the judges, they don't know anything about you, so they do want to hear your questions as well.
That's right. Yeah, and as far as questions, and as far as working, for the mentors out there, asking questions is important. I probably sent John or sent Paul 3 emails a day, every day for 7 or 8 or 10 months last year. And he was my #1 go-to guy. And we attended as many events as we could. We did SWATposium, we did 2056. Of course, we did 772 out here in Windsor hosts the preseason competition. They're an amazing team. They helped us so much, and they were always there for us when we needed them. You know, they were always willing to come out and help us. They came out to the school when we needed them. We also aligned ourselves with some schools, some teams that were a little bit closer to us, that were just maybe a little bit easier to reach, but were also newer teams. And they seem to have maybe as much as the very, very successful teams will show you how to set up your team properly in the long run. Some of the newer teams, it's nice to see how they're doing things, because looking at the successful teams, it almost seems impossible to get yourself to that point. You know, you talk to these really successful teams who have mentors, you know, almost one-to-one with the students, and they're raising so much money, and you think, I'll never be able to do that. But when you can see a team who's been at it for just a couple of years doing really amazing work and getting all that, sometimes that helps too. That was very, very good for us. You know, there was a couple teams around here that helped us quite a bit. So that was nice. Our build season last year was frightening and exhausting, but a whole lot of fun. We started out at the kickoff at the college and got our kit of parts, and honestly, we still didn't have an actual engineering mentor at that time. So I was terrified we weren't even going to get the robot together, but the kids knocked it together, and then we tried to figure out everything else, and we did eventually get a couple of engineering mentors to come out and help us. We worked probably 4 days a week after school, and then Saturdays and Sundays on the weekends. So it was a lot, but we had to lose a week for exams, like probably a lot of the schools do. We are not allowed to do teams. So really it's a 5-week season for us. And we did some late nights. This year, I think we'd like to do, you know, follow that kind of lock-in mode where people go in and build the robot quickly over a couple of days and just push, and see if we can get at least something set out right away. So I think that's how our season will change a little bit this year. I would have probably approached the season a little bit more. I wouldn't have been so afraid to If I, we did have money in the budget to go out and buy parts and things. I probably would go out and start that sooner. If I was to look back and pull in some things and really try to get the kids building some intake systems or some ball launching system, something like that, just so that they would have that practice, that feel of that before we started. So I might have pushed more for some other teams to help us with that had I known that was coming. But I think it's good to have them build those mechanisms anyway, just so that they'd be prepared for it. And then in the off season, we finished off our season. We were exhausted by May. We kept improving our website and then improving our skills. So I improved my own skills and then started working on teaching the kids different systems myself, getting us equipment to do that, and then setting ourselves up for the following season. So over the summer, they worked on what their plans for outreach were going to be for this year, and also for fundraising. So yeah, things that I would continue to work on like that. Fundraising especially, a lot of the teams tackle that in the summertime. So if you can get kids to do that, especially around here, it seems like if you wait too long, it's just too late.
Well, those are great tips,
yeah.
Monique, and I'm sure lots of people are listening, and lots of people that will watch when it's recorded and played will get a lot out of that. So I hope you're going to stick with us to listen to Mr. Hobbins. I know you had a summer course with him, so you probably are a little bit tired of listening to him, but try to be in my shoes.
My skills got improved.
That's
right.
For
sure.
Okay, well, thanks again. And
thank you.
Today with us, we also have John Hobbins, Regional Director for Ontario for FRC, and a Woody Flowers Finalist Award. I could have put more stuff down, but we want to keep this to a half an hour, so we're going to stick with that. And so without further ado, we have Mr. Hobbins joining us.
Well, thanks, Paul, and special thanks for the reminder about keeping it to a half hour. I'll do my best for that. And reminder to the audience that you can ask questions by typing them into the question box, and throughout the presentation, Paul will have a gander in that area and do what he can to read that and interject with some of those questions. And Paul, it's important for the audience to know how much we value EDI, or equity, diversity, and inclusion. And as such, I would be remiss if I didn't include in my tips a tip for you that on Thursdays, shoppers.
Uh-oh, did we lose Mr. Hobbins?
Sounds like it.
Sorry, there was a little bit of static there.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to tip on Thursdays at Shoppers Drug Mart for All right. I'm going to just continue with my part of the presentation there, Paul. Monique, thanks very much for what you said. The other piece that's important, maybe you can share an email at the end for your lessons learned from last year, which is not only a great list of tips from what you've learned, but also the idea of it's part of the criteria for the year 2 funding for the Argosy grant. And as Paul mentioned, and you mentioned, the importance of speaking to judges. To cap off what you said, Canadian and world judges do comment that Ontario and Canadian students and teams are a little bit shy when they're in the pit speaking to the judges, and they should be bragging about the great stuff that they do. So with that, Paul, I'll jump into my preseason tips. Really, really important to liaise with other teams. The whole idea of having an opportunity to be mentored, to find out what other teams are doing, and to just be able to, even go on the website to look at blogs and so on. The number one mistakes that rookie teams make is the failure to ask questions. So we really encourage you to ask. Send Paul as many emails as you want. Tip Another really big tip for you as you approach the build season, which is 6 weeks from February or January 6th to February 20th, 22nd, thereabouts, is think of the idea of whatever you could take out of that 6 weeks and do now would give you more time during the 6 weeks to work on your robot and to really focus on that task at hand. As you can see from this webinar and many others, they're very informative. So try to dedicate a couple people from your team to make sure they follow these webinars weekly. And we have something special this year where in University of Waterloo, they're going to do a robot in 3 days. So once NASA does the kickoff on January 6th, there's going to be a team of superstars building a robot in 3 days to match this year's challenge. I'd strongly recommend or encourage you to look at what those designs are like, what that robot, the finished prototype looks like, and to potentially include that or get some ideas to steer your design for your robot. Some other key things, I know that Paul and a few other staff at FIRST have been working very hard to identify where all the teams have identified where their kickoff location is and where the kit's going to be shipped. So please make sure you go into your dashboard and make sure that that has been selected. I was looking tonight and I noticed there was at least 6 out of the 10 teams I looked at still had not selected appropriately where their kit was going to be shipped. And lastly, as a preseason tip, the whole idea of what is Chief Delphi. So send your kids on that search. It's the best robotics website that's available today. Go ahead, Paul, if you could change that slide. And this was just a slide I pulled up from one of the teams that really just gives you a sense of some of the other things to think about before you actually start the season. You're only a rookie once. You know, what's your team image going to be? What workshops are available? A sense of a schedule. Monique mentioned an exam schedule during the build season. You might want to plan for that. There's a whole slew of other areas, the kit design, various awards, and so on. So again, just that whole idea of what can you do now that you don't want to worry about during the season. Go ahead, Paul. So under the heading of Hobbins secrets or Hobbins tips, what makes a successful rookie team? Well, certainly what Monique said. She's got a lot of experience now. This is a hyperlink to 10 Steps to Success. That is a slideshow that was made years ago for rookie teams. So when you get a chance, have a look at that. So it's really going to give you the full scope of the season from beginning to end. We talked about the importance of aligning with other teams. Monique's suggestion was try to align yourself with more than one team. Get as much good information as you can. And I know firsthand that Paul and his team, Paul's been associated with Team 4001. And in 2012 or 11, they visited my school. We had a discussion around keeping things as simple as possible. And they did that, and they were very successful, so much so that they even they won the tournament, I believe, or beat my team at that tournament. So that was a real good listening skills that they demonstrated. The robot chassis that you get in your kit of parts is extremely good, everyone. And I say save time. In order to design and build a robot chassis from scratch, it's going to take you 3 weeks at least. So why not build one from the kit of parts, take a week to do that, and save those other 2 weeks to design the other tools or whatever the apparatus are that you're going to use to play the game. And shift over to that next slide there, Mr. Keenan. Mr. Keenan has nodded off.
No, do you see the slide? Is it getting started? Is this the one you want?
No.
No.
It's the next one.
This one? Sample team structure?
Yes, thank you, sir. That's terrific. So this is just a sense of what teams are made of. I tried to include the whole scope of the students, all the stakeholders that wouldn't be involved in that circle there. And then the idea of 2 to 3 adults or professionals. a lot of people ask the question, well, how many members should I have on my team? The average new team is between 15 to 25 students. Of course, you want to think about sponsors that you might be able to secure and so forth. The other question was, what's the team structure look like? So what's important with this team structure across the top is in the blue, you can see the subgroups that we call them. Basically, mechanical design, programming, electrical, and administration. It's really a little bit disproportionate there because the administration perhaps could be half the team, not 1/5 or 1/6 of the team that's shown there. And at the bottom, the purpose of showing those blocks of students is to show you the diversity of grades that are involved in each one of those groups. So do not lock yourself in by putting all grade 12s on the team and then having no students left next year. Question that Paul has asked me to speak to is how should parents be involved? So Paul, if you could go to the next slide. I did pull from the 10 Steps to Success slideshow some of the tips. When we say assign 1 to 2 lead parents, we are talking your best parents and get them to groom other parents to be the best parents, so you have available to you as many focused parents as possible. Talk to the parents, ask how they see themselves being involved. When you think about a soccer team and how if you put your child on a soccer team, sometimes the assistant coach will say to you, hey, would you like to help coach? And all the parents shy away. So it's up to you to be proactive and to pull those parents into helping with the team. And then again, pairing the parents is really about putting a strong parent with a less experienced parent. So you will help to grow the expertise of each one of your parents. Go ahead, Paul.
You should be seeing the slide
now. I can, thank you, yes. How does First Canada support teams? In various ways. These are just some of them, but obviously the webinars, workshops, calling Paul whenever you need him. We work with teams to help support the shipping piece, grants, and team development. How to do whatever it is you need to do. Go ahead, Paul. And that's me for now.
Thank you, John. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. We're like on time. This is amazing. So there were lots of important things in there that John mentioned, and goes back to a lot of things that Monique mentioned. There are some new things. One of the new things last year and this year is that many of us have purchased Andy Mark parts for our robots. It's one of the approved vendors for FIRST Robotics. And last year, Studica became a reseller of Andy Mark parts in Canada, which is great for us because it's located in Mississauga. They have a warehouse there. It's also they've also loaned out part of the warehouse to First Canada. And Derek Murphy, who's our contact there, is supporting all the teams across Canada, getting us parts a lot faster than had we had to try to order them through the States at Andy Mark's headquarters in Indianapolis. Often we were delayed by weather and border issues. So that's a brand new part, and hopefully, because he's traveling a lot, he mentioned the other day he was going to China. He's just got back from Dubai, I think. He's going to come and host the webinar next week with us. He'll be our expert, I hope. And he'll talk about what Studica can do for you as a team and how to get parts from them and so forth. But as always, we are going to have a question from today's webinar so that you can earn one of 2 prizes. So the prizes are going to be brand new First Canada sling. So a sling is a sort of a backpack, but it's really sort of a light one. If you were at the Fall Fiesta, you would have seen James Serrar, who was running that event on the field, putting it together, taking it apart. He likes to wear his sling around. He was doing the same thing in Windsor, and he keeps some tools in there so it's easy for him to get on the field with the tools he needs and so forth to fix things. So we have First Canada ones this year, so we're going to give 2 of those away to 2 people from this week's webinar. And the question today, and we'll post this recording. So if you didn't hear about it, we'll post it. And the question is, what subject area does Monique Pouget teach at the school? She mentioned it at one of the first things that she was talking about. So hopefully you listened. If you didn't, or you weren't on at that point, this will be posted on the First Canada YouTube channel, and you can ask, you can listen to it and hear what Monique teaches. Looks like we have a couple of questions, so let's see. Oh my gosh. Julie, you can't, you have to send in an email. You just can't blurt things out like that. Anyways, I'm not going to tell you what Julie put down, but one question we always get, unfortunately, is, are there any chip clips left from last year? I assume that one's coming from Mr. Hobbins, or it could be Mr. Bredner, or it could be any one of a number of people who like to torment me about my poor purchase last year of 10,000 First Canada chip clips. In any case, I'm going to be the bigger person in this case, and I'm going to totally ignore that question. We did have one compliment from Graham. Monique gave a great breakdown of what it's like to be a first-year team, and he really appreciated that. So thank you for that, Graham. And if there are no other questions for us, we'll say, oh, wait a second, we do have one. No, it's just Graham saying that he still appreciated how well-spoken Monique was and how she explained it so beautifully. So we're going to close off today. Remind you that today's question that you can email at pkeenan@firstinspires.org, and you can win one of 2 First Canada slings, and somehow we'll get it to you if you're way out in BC, or if you're in Saskatchewan, or if you're somewhere in Ontario. We'll make arrangements to get that to you. So every time I say there's no questions, there's a question. Oh, here we go. So Tamia wants to know, do I choose the winners randomly? Yes, I do. And to Yvonne, I will post a copy of this slideshow and put the link on our First Canada Facebook page so you can get it there. And so with that, I would thank John Hobbins, First Regional Director for Ontario, and Monique Pouget of Team 6331, and say good night to everybody, and we'll see you next week with Derek Murphy, we hope. Good night.